Hi, my name is Alyssa, and this is Mascot Snapshot. On Mascot Snapshot, I discuss the animated history of cartoon mascots and how their ever-changing looks match with ever-changing trends in animation and art through the decades. This episode of Mascot Snapshot is all about a mascot who was on everyone's mind not that long ago. I mean, a couple months ago, which in internet time is 1,000 years ago. However, they weren't talking about him in the best light. You see, there was a major redesign of this mascot this year, and people didn't really like it. In fact, a lot of people took to Twitter to do their own redesign of the redesign, which is something that I'll be doing later in this video as well. So in this video, I will definitely be covering the redesign and the internet backlash to it, and I also think it might be fun to take a trip through memory lane like we do here on Mascot Snapshot and show all the old designs of Toucan Sam throughout the years. So without further ado, let's talk about the animated history of the Fruit Loops mascot himself, Toucan Sam. The world got its first taste of Fruit Loops cereal in 1963, and Toucan Sam was the face of the brand from the very beginning. The first iconic illustration of Toucan Sam was created by illustrator Manuel R. Vega. Vega had success as a commercial illustrator, but eventually left the advertising world to focus on supporting young artists by becoming an art instructor. The earliest Fruit Loops ads feature a wisecracking Toucan Sam voiced by the man of 1,000 voices himself, Mel Blanc.
Oh boy. Well, Kellogg's puts real orange, lemon, and cherry flavors with colors to match in these crispy little cereal circles made from oats, then spangles them with big crunchy sugar crystals and, do they else make delicious day. Try them. Sparkling with ogre shea.
Else may so delicious day.
This ad features Toucan Sam speaking Pig Latin with two baby toucans, described as his nephews in every description of the video I could find, but they're also in this other ad just referred to as the baby birds. It's unclear to me if these are supposed to be the same nephews that later turned into Sam's 3 nephews, but they sure are cute. These baby birds and Pig Latin were the recurring bits for these commercials in the 60s.
Free oops lane.
What?
Fruit Loops. Oops.
In the 70s, Sam got a whole new voice from another legendary voice actor, Paul Frees, perhaps best known as the voice of Boris in the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, giving Toucan Sam a more refined personality inspired by English actor Ronald Colman. The 70s also gave us Toucan Sam's most well-known trait, his ability to sniff out a bowl of Fruit Loops with his amazing sense of smell and the follow your nose catchphrase.
Real fruit flavors, orange, lemon, and cherry.
Make Kellogg's Fruit Loops part of your complete breakfast with milk, juice, and toast.
So look for Kellogg's Fruit Loops. Follow your nose.
The 70s also gave some interesting one-off side characters, such as this prickly porcupine and this charming walrus explorer.
Trius, Toucan Birdus.
What are you doing?
Naming my discoveries.
The 80s had charming side characters as well, like this seal showing off what his nose can do.
That's a talented nose.
But wish you could find me fruit flavors like you can, Toucan.
Come, we'll follow my nose.
In fact, almost all of the commercials from this decade and part of the 90s feature a similar formula. A tropical or forest setting, some kind of animal side character, Toucan Sam following his nose to a bowl of Fruit Loops in some way, and a bit of live action footage at the very end. The 90s saw some more deviations to this formula than the 80s did, with a few breaks to promote new color additions to the Fruit Loops like Tropical Berry Blue in 1996. The 90s also had some of the trippiest Fruit Loops ads. Despite Toucan Sam keeping his iconic look more or less unchanged, the tone of Fruit Loops ads ranged from kooky and cartoonish, like in this 1992 ad, to this bizarre ad featuring a young Seth Green recounting a dream he had where he became Toucan Sam, but really his friend was Toucan Sam the whole time. Just look at this.
Think, Ralph?
Awesome dream, dude.
Perhaps the strangest ads of all were these more live-action focused Dreams commercials. Peter Lohmeyer, creative director at Chicago-based ad agency Leo Burnett, had the task of creating storyboards for Fruit Loops, and the ad he remembered most was this one, featuring a teen test subject being experimented on with Fruit Loops invading his subconscious mind.
A lot of activity in the amygdala.
That's the taste and smell sector.
Just folly, just folly.
Uh-oh. Quick, shut down.
Thompson, run!
These Dreams ads featuring live-action teenagers were of course created to appeal to the teen demographic and move slightly out of the kiddie cartoon realm, but still featured the iconic cartoon bird mascot front and center. The 2000s went back to the familiar jungle and follow your nose and part of this balanced breakfast formula, but with more 3D effects added for that 2000s look. Overall, Toucan Sam's design remained more or less intact and instantly recognizable other than his body proportions slimming out just a little bit from earlier ads. His 3 nephews also made more appearances. The 2010s continued with the adventures of Toucan Sam and his nephews with a more polished look to blend 2D and 3D animation styles. Now, typically when I get to this point in a mascot video, the era of fully 3D mascots tends to be my least favorite, as a lot of CG redesigns seem to suck the life and personality out of the character design. However, this 2013 ad is super charming and one of the nicest looking commercials in the whole bunch. It keeps the same Toucan Sam that we grew up with, but adds a fresh style and level of polish, and I just love this goofy Krabs design. It's a lot of fun to look at. This commercial was created by animation studio Nathan Love, and I think executive producer James Braddock nailed it when he said, "A lot of people have said that CG is generally colder than stop motion, but we've always believed that you can add the same amount of warmth with the right amount of love." Like seemingly all mascots, Toucan Sam had a brief stint in a 2017 commercial pretending to be hip and cool with a new catchphrase, "Whatever fruits your loops," but nothing really offensively awful came of these 2010s ads. In fact, as I'm editing this video, I have something else super cool to add in here. This is an ad from 2012 featuring a rad-looking jellyfish. While editing this video, I took a break to browse Facebook, which I know is a site for old people, but sometimes there's some cool stuff posted in some art groups I follow, and boy did I find something cool. One of the animation groups I follow reposted this pencil test from the same commercial from animator Sandro Cliuzzo, and the comments are full of other people talking about their time working on similar commercials when they were all traditionally animated like this. This is actually serendipitous for 2 reasons. One, what are the odds that I would find something like this while working on a video about Fruit Loops commercials? That's awesome enough. But another point that segues into my next section. My interest in cartoon mascots and commercials stems from the fact that oftentimes the role of this work being advertisements, I think devalues the art in the eyes of viewers, making it more like background noise or something to actively avoid since, well, it's just an ad. But I want to remind you that behind all of these animated advertisements is a team of animators who really know their craft, making exceptionally beautiful work like this and enjoying doing it, and getting paid to do it too. These commercials are corny and sell corn syrupy food to kids, but they're also a really cool way to see some amazing animation, so just keep all that in mind as we jump ahead to the current day. Cut to today. This is what you're all here for, after all. First of all, I don't think the commercial overall is that bad at all. The entire commercial, not the character design. We'll get to that. There's a couple things I really like about this commercial, actually. The gumball-esque opening with the kitchen is a nice contrast to the zany Fruit Loops world concept. I really enjoy the design of the children here and their cute little sneakers. I like these awesome narwhal things with loops around their horns, and the video game style music and sound effects make the whole sensory overload complete. It's really fun, colorful, and it fits with the Saturday morning cartoon, burn your retinas in a good way kind of feeling. A few comments on a Cartoon Brew write-up about the commercial say that Golden Wolf is the animation studio behind the spot, but I couldn't find them mentioning it anywhere on social media or their website, which could either be due to something in their contract or because they don't want to be associated with the internet backlash against the new Toucan Sam, though based on the studio's other really incredible looking work and how vibrant and fun it is, it seems like this info is correct. So clearly there is a team of very skilled and passionate animators and artists who all created this world and concept for the ad. However, this Toucan Sam redesign is a big miss. I'm certainly not alone in this opinion. The internet at large seemed to all collectively hate on this new Toucan Sam, and everyone had their turn at redesigning the character how they saw fit, which I'll try my hand at in a moment as well. tinfoil hat moment, but seeing as how throughout this video the mascot hadn't really had any major changes to his design since the original 60s style, this would be a good way to get everyone to talk about the brand, make a mascot so divisive that people essentially talk about the cereal and even make fan art for free. And if that's the case, I'm falling right into the trap with this video, but it's okay, I wanted to make a video about this bird anyway. So what makes this mascot not work? This is entirely subjective, like everything else in art, but in my own opinion, the eyes that are in a constant state of looking amazed or watery don't make him look cute so much as constantly in a state of manic excitement, which doesn't really match his body language or the newer, gentler voice they've given him. The gradients on the beak I actually don't entirely hate, and honestly I think it might be a little ahead of the curve in terms of trends, so hear me out here. I think we've all moved on beyond 80s nostalgia aesthetic. It kind of died out after everyone got their fill of neon, synths, and Stranger Things. 90s nostalgia maybe has another year or so in the tank, then we're on to 2000s nostalgia. And to me, soft gradients scream 2000s, early web design aesthetic, PowerPoint presentations, that kind of vibe. But I personally feel that embracing the simple, bold graphic shapes of the original Toucan Sam feels more modern and also more timeless. So I would channel that feeling for the beak while adding in a few more colors to try and marry the new and old ideas together. Maybe a little busy, but worth trying out. And I like the floating head and tail feather shapes, so I keep those, just exaggerating them a little bit. For the eyes, I heavily reference the original Toucan Sam, where it's just a black pupil and white eye, super simple, but I've talked about this before, how eyes with no shines is kind of the wave illustration is on right now. The more modern kids book style art and even a lot of editorial illustration work doesn't have a lot of eye shines added. Again, something clean and modern, but also timelessly appealing to look at. Now, the most heinous crime this new design commits is the mouth. You can get away with a mouth that just kind of floats on the side of the head depending on the character, anime does it a lot, but it just feels wrong here. A lot of Toucan Sam's charm comes from his big beak, and it almost feels body horror-ish if this mouth functions independent of his beak. It's just not great to look at, so I'm giving his beak functionality back in my design. So this is how I would do this redesign if given the chance. Maybe not perfect, but I think it at least attempts to address the elements of this redesign that are getting under a lot of people's skin. Again, could this all just be a way to get people talking about the brand? I love a good sneaky PR stunt, but I honestly don't think that's what's happening here. This type of look is in keeping with other projects on their website in terms of the overall look and feel. Maybe some suit at Fruit Loops messed this one up by insisting on the style of eyes and mouth, and Frankenstein the final result based on a few different ideas that were thrown out by the artists. There's really no way to know without asking the artists themselves, but intentional or not, it certainly did get people talking. Who knows what the future holds for Sam? Maybe by the time I upload this video, Kellogg's will put up a Twitter post with a new and improved design to stir up more interest, or they'll just keep rolling with this look because they know people will get angry and talk about it for a while. Here's hoping that eventually this phase of Sam's life will pass and he'll either return to his iconic look or take inspiration from his previous looks and be reborn as a newer, better bird like a phoenix from a pile of fruit-flavored ashes. One thing's for sure, people care a lot more about how cartoon mascots look than I imagined, which I guess fares well for this little series of mine. So, what do you guys think about the Toucan Sam redesign? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're an artist and you've done a redesign of this redesign of Toucan Sam, post it and tag me in it on Instagram or Twitter so I can see and leave a comment and let you know what I think about your interpretation of this iconic character. And if you're still watching the video, be sure to give it a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell to be notified of my new uploads every single week. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out.